Okay, can you tell us your name and what you're doing here and what you've been doing?
Gregg Hall, and a lifelong resident here, and I grew up here in the area, went to high school here, and I used to run the beach every morning for exercise, and then when I found the first tar balls out here, I just started documenting it, taking pictures and video and uploading things to Facebook and YouTube, and just trying to get the word out, because I'd seen documentaries about what happened to places like the Niger Delta and Ecuadorian Amazon and places like that, where they've gone in and they've ruined entire ecosystems and nobody found out about it until decades later, so my thing was, I have the technology to be able to get the word out. I can do what those people couldn't do, and bring awareness to it before it got out of hand. Our biggest thing is we need to be reaching millions of people when we're only reaching thousands. I've got, between all of our pages, we've probably got 100,000 people or more. I've only got about 12,000 on mine. I've got a couple thousand YouTube subscribers, so we're reaching those people, but we need to be reaching millions. We need to be reaching the same amount of people that mainstream media is reaching. I found a little baby heron back in the end of June, right after we'd had that big influx of oil, and we had these big tidal pools filled with oil and oily foam and stuff like that in them. I found a gull a couple of weeks ago that had a messed up wing, but I don't think it was oil related. But when I see them, I just scoop them up and call Fish and Wildlife. It took about 2.5 hours for them to come get the heron, and the gull I turned over to a volunteer. The gull just had I could see the mites on his wing whenever I was looking at him. He had mites on his wing, and then the little heron was fine, they said. Because he really hadn't been in it long. I saw him just stumbling and tripping and falling all the way down the beach, and I saw him fall right into that pool, and then I just sprinted over and grabbed him up and, took him to the house, after I called him.
Did you get harassed at all for touching wildlife?
No. Those guys, whenever they came to pick him up, they had tears in their eyes, because, he was probably only a few days old,
Aww.
And, they were thrilled to death, to
see somebody active.
Yeah. Still here, this hit us 2 months ago and it's still here.
How long do you think it's going to go on?
Probably for the rest of our lives. The vast majority of it's still out there, and because of the use of dispersants, it's in multiple layers of the water column, and if anybody knows anything about thermoclines and the way the water table shifts from temperature changes, it's just going to keep flipping up, it just keeps flipping up, and it's just going to keep coming in and coming in and coming in, I'm really surprised that we haven't been hit hard again like we were in June, but it's just a matter of time, If we get a storm out of the right direction, that's going to push it up off of these offshore ledges, which that's what we're planning on doing today and tomorrow, is going out and running these offshore ledges where we think that there's going to be some stuff piled up against, because it's about a 12-15 foot drop off, so you got this big ledge out there that stuff accumulates up against. And I've got friends of mine that have been working for the Vessels of Opportunity that have been out here dragging modified skimmer boats looking for oil for BP, and they tell me, just offshore and going out for 5 miles at 6 feet below the surface all the way down to the bottom, they're finding oil, and he talked about this one sea turtle that popped up right next to his boat and would just not go away, and he's like, that's not right. He said they always run away because, they're not going to interact with you like that, and he's like, it was just sitting there going, come on man, help a brother out, and it took him 2 hours to get somebody to come to it, because he said, the hell with this, I'm going to put this turtle on my boat. They said, if you put that turtle on your boat, you're fired. He just described it as being 3 to 4 feet in diameter, pretty big turtle, pretty good sized turtle. But he said that they told him 2 days later that it didn't make it, and I'm like, he's like, why'd you have to tell me that? Now you just pissed me off. A friend of mine is one of the ones that got that injunction filed against them to stop burning them, because they had depositions from fishermen, that stood up and said, yeah, they're doing that. We saw it with our own eyes, and so they got an injunction against them where they had to put an environmentalist out there, and put that person out in a little, basically like a Zodiac boat, and run the whole length of the boomed off area and make sure that there wasn't anything in there before they put it on fire, you know, because prior to that they were burning them alive. You know, I can't even imagine, you know, I mean, I'd have killed somebody, man. I mean, it's just, I'm gonna sit there and watch them burn something alive. That's just insane. I can't even imagine how, you know, how soulless a person has to be able to do something like that.
Can you tell me about what goes on here in the mornings? What are they doing?
Well, I mean, you don't see it here where we're standing in the park, but where you guys walked with me earlier, where you see all those lines in the sand, they're running these beet sifters through, and what they do is they have like these little teeth that dig down into the sand, and then they scoop it up into like a conveyor belt type of thing that sifts and sorts through it, and then the stuff falls into this container bin. And we were out here a couple weeks ago and actually caught them on break and got into one of those machines, you know, and it had like just tar balls everywhere and pieces of dead crabs, and you know, there were a couple little small crabs that were still alive, so got in there and pulled them out, you know. But that's doing a lot of damage too, you know, and they've got some that they're coming out with now that are digging down even deeper, which is going to really affect all those ghost crabs like I pointed out to you guys on the way down here. A couple good examples of ghost crab holes you see where they've dug down in here, and then the sand that they're pulling up is tainted with, you know, oil and tar residue. Same thing over here. These couple of holes right here. It's all just a nightmare when you live out here and you see it every day. You know, you're sick off and on, and you can't forget about it. See, this is another area where you can see the line of tar underneath just a little light dusting of sand. Now all of this was all just black. This is a piece of coral that just broke off and came ashore, and it's got one side of it's just coated with oil, and you can see here the structure of the barnacles and everything on the other side of it.
And where are you posting your information?
Well, we have Facebook and YouTube, and then also had a lady that set up a website for me where it has all of my information all in one place, and it's pcolagregg.com, you know, 2 G's on the end, so pcolagregg.com, and that has links to my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, Twitter, email, CNN iReports. It's got listings for all of the contact numbers for the entire coast, whatever state you're in. You know, so it's got some really good information on it. It's kind of like a one-stop place, you know, and then I've got a blog attached to it, you know, that I get in there and blog on when I can.